Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Matt McCarthy, and this is Sunday Journal. Well, nobody ever said being young was easy, and there's no doubt life on the Cape presents different challenges for younger Cape Codders. The demographics of our region are skewed older. It could be argued there's a lack of year-round entertainment for young people, and with the drug epidemic continuing, that increases the risk of Cape teens falling victim to substance abuse. A new nonprofit on Cape Cod is trying to engage the Cape's youth. It's called Plain Talk. With me today are co-founders Zoe Wolf and Siobhan Henshaw, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Matt.
So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about your organization and what made you found it and what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, Plain Talk was actually incepted by the Cultural Center of Cape Cod, the Cotuit Center for the Arts, and the Wellfleet Preservation Hall, along with the Cape Cod Conservatory. And those four organizations are known as the Quartet. And after a number of conversations with the Monomoy ALP program at the Cultural Center through their Rise and Shine program, Plain Talk was born, realizing that young people know best what it is that they need to live happy, healthy lives.
And Zoe, Plain Talk's goal is to engage youth on the Cape?
The essential concept of Plain Talk is that we're giving youth a voice in the community with the hope that when people listen to what young people have to say, the programs that arise to meet the needs of young people actually work. So when we're talking about substance abuse, when we say that we want to give young people a voice around substance abuse, what we really mean is that we want them to be able to tell us, this is going to help me stay away from making bad decisions that might lead to drug use, or this is not going to help. And we've taken several different routes to get to that point, one of which is our column in the Register newspaper and on wickedlocal.com, where young people write about their experiences growing up on the Cape, their experiences with drugs, some of them, but others just their experience about, what's challenging about growing up here and what's challenging about being a young person in general, which I think that as we get older, many of us kind of forget the angst that comes with being in our teens and really feeling misunderstood and misrepresented. So the column is taking care of that sort of aspect of things. We're also hoping to increase our radio presence, so thank you for inviting us here today.
You're welcome.
In terms of getting the stories of young people out to the community at large. And another program that we're working on is this amazing collaboration with the schools, starting right now with the Monomoy Alternative Learning Program, where we're actually working with the young people on a biweekly basis, collaborating with them on arts projects at the Cultural Center of Cape Cod, but also getting their honest and real feedback about issues that matter to them.
And Zoe, one thing that you mentioned there that kind of stood out to me is, being young isn't easy. And that kind of, to me, from what you said, really kind of is the center and the whole reason for this organization is that, being young isn't easy, and being on the Cape presents some different challenges too.
Absolutely. I think also there's a lot of adult perception about what is best for young people, and we go at it at this angle where we're asking kids exactly what it is that they want, and they're very vocal when you give them the opportunity.
And, what have you heard from people when you talk to them about the challenges that they face here on the Cape, the challenges that they face about being young? What have you heard from the Cape's youth?
Well, one of the most interesting things that we heard was in the very beginning of Plain Talk, we had a series of forums that invited high school age kids to meet with different members of different groups on Cape Cod. So whether it was the business sector, whether it was the political sector, nonprofit sector, we brought kind of all of those types of people to the table with high schoolers. And one of the most surprising things that we heard, or not surprising, depending on who you are, is that the high schoolers really said, it's too late for us, for programming that helps us. Now, whether or not that's entirely true, is up for debate. Obviously, there are some things that we can do that really appeal to high schoolers. But the feedback that we really got was to focus on middle school age kids and really focus starting younger, getting them involved with things that they're passionate about, and how that will help kind of steer them away from the bad decision-making that happens in high school. That being said, high schoolers are very interested in work-study programs, and so we've been also working with the Cultural Center of Cape Cod to do some internship pairing, helping young people find artists that they resonate with that might want to take them in for almost an apprenticeship. So that's kind of a surprising thing that actually, some people think, oh, well, young people, they don't want to work, they just want to hang out. No, really what they're hearing is we do want to work. We want to be engaged in society in a way that allows us to really be of value, to feel a value within ourselves, but also to create things that make other people happy and bring them joy.
I'm Matt McCarthy, and you're listening to Sunday Journal. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm joined by Zoe Wolf and Siobhan Henshaw. They've founded the new nonprofit Plain Talk. They're trying to engage youth on the Cape. And you had mentioned the lack of programming for young people on the Cape. And do you really think it's an issue of these kids just simply aren't being engaged? They don't have the opportunity to be engaged by the lack of programming, by the lack of opportunities. As you said, is this something where if there's more programming that could possibly have a big impact on the Cape's youth?
I think it's a matter of the type of programming and really creating programs that kids are interested in being a part of. We hosted an X event in the Boys and Girls Club up in Mashpee in June, and we had over 150 kids. And we had a bunch of black lights and glow sticks, and it was a substance-free rave. I mean, we had a blast. We engaged young artists that were local rappers and MCs, and they came, and we had opening acts, and they threw their own concert. They had a blast, and so I think it's about engaging establishments in the community to create programming that's tailored to what the youth is asking for. And in order to do so, they have to engage the youth.
You both grew up here. Events like that, as you mentioned, this, you could call it a substance-free rave, however you want to describe it, kind of few and far between on the Cape at times, right?
Definitely. And, another problem with that, Matt, is this is something we found in our process with Plain Talk, is that there are venues that are very willing to host events for certain populations who they don't perceive as being
liable.
Liability. Exactly. Who might be a liability, who might be a little, cause a little ruckus. And so it's actually been very hard to find venues that are willing to host events like this for young people. So we're hoping to, through a variety of partnerships that we have in the community right now, find a space like that where kids can just come and kind of have a place to do whatever they want to do, whether that's, sports, which it is for some kids, but also whether it's music, art, just have a space where they can show up, know that to some degree they'll be supervised, know that it's a substance-free location, but also know that it's really a place to be themselves. They don't have to subscribe to anyone's rules or do anything that they don't want to do. It's really a place for them.
You both grew up here. You've lived here, I believe, your entire lives, correct, for the most part?
Yes.
What were some of the challenges of growing up on Cape Cod?
Where do I start? No, just kidding. Can I say a couple good things before I say challenges?
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful place. We have some really great public schools here. We have a lot of adults and organizations that are, working to help young people. But that being said, there is the feeling among young people that there's not a lot to do for young people in terms of entertainment, in terms of activities that aren't related to school. And I think that one of the challenges that arises from that is that kids are not making their best decisions. And that was certainly true where I was growing up and when I was growing up. So I think that remains true today, that kids, as you said in the introduction, fall victim to bad choices as a result of not feeling like they have anything to do.
I frankly couldn't wait to get off the Cape when I was growing up here. I was getting out of Dodge as fast as I could, and I was not looking back. And after 8 years away, I find myself back here on Cape Cod and caring about a community that I really didn't give a damn about when I was growing up. And I think that it's interesting that young people are becoming engaged in community and community awareness and responsibility and staking claim on the Cape and saying, hey, this is ours and we're going to take it back. It's not just a great place to retire. It's a great place to grow up. It's a great place to be, and it's a great place to stay, because as we know from statistics recently that we've lost 26% of our 26 to 46-year-olds. I mean, that's crazy. Our community is not going to survive the next 26%. Peacing out.
And, you had mentioned you wanted to get out of here. What brought you back?
To be honest, I came back kind of kicking and screaming. I had some health issues I needed to take care of, but once I was back, I couldn't believe the community that I left and how much I saw it differently from an adult perspective. I say that with great air quotes, but now that I'm here, I find myself very compelled to shape the Cape in a way that makes it a desirable place to be as a young person, because I am still young, and a place where I want to have a family someday and raise kids in a place where they want to be.
And what type of change is possible to make life better for young people on the Cape?
Listening more.
Everybody was 16 once, and some people remember that and have a longer memory than others. I know 30-year-olds that are more ageist than some 60-year-olds I know, and that's crazy to me. They're these kids, they're causing a ruckus and they're being hooligans. And then you've got some wonderful people in our elder community that are really supportive and want to see the best done for the youth. But I think that there's a lot of money that's going to a lot of elder services, and I think that our elder community deserves that. But if they can have a bus come pick them up and bring them wherever they need to go, if we had something, I mean, transportation's huge for the kids. It's not the programs don't exist. It's half the time kids don't have a place to get to them. The only place they have to go is their next door neighbor's basement. What
are some of the challenges of living on the Cape as a person in their mid-20s like you two?
Well, I live at home to start. I mean, affordable housing is ridiculous. I mean, it's almost like a foreign concept to young people in their 20s, and even my peers that have come back with master's degrees, struggle to find work in their field, without the thought of commuting to Boston. And teenagers are also very aware of that. Where do you think you'll be in 5 years? Well, either living off Cape or commuting to Boston is what they say, because they just don't see the job opportunities in varied fields here on the Cape. And I think that that's slowly changing, but again, kids are looking for meaningful work. They don't want to scoop ice cream all the time. They want to, come in and intern at a broadcasting station, learn what it's like, and see, and have those opportunities at a younger age, opposed to saying, hey, you're 18, decide what to do with your life and go and do it.
And that's really what it seems like your organization is all about, providing the opportunity for young people to explore and maybe find something that they're really passionate about.
That's exactly right. Yep. And to share in the community conversation about what matters to them and what matters to us as a community of Cape Codders. Plain Talk's tag is amplifying youth voices in the community conversation. And that's really what we aim to do, so that their needs can be met, so that as a community we can come together and support young people in the way that they deserve to be supported, and so that as we evolve and grow on Cape Cod in the hope that we keep our young population here, that we really understand what it takes to be youth-friendly. So that's Plain Talk's goal. And whether it's through dealing with difficult issues such as substance abuse or workforce development or affordable housing, or whether it's through dealing with things as simple as making a 16-year-old feel as though the adults in their lives understand what it feels like to be 16, Plain Talk's there to help.
And one thing you've touched on a little bit, and I'd like to get into a little bit more, you've talked about the pillars of your organization, and for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with your organization, wondering if you could explain what those are.
The pillars as they are now, although they're in an evolving state, one is the X events. And one of the ways the X events are kind of evolving, X is like X marks the spot, where is the cool thing that's going on that week or that weekend. They're evolving a little bit to be almost a little bit more community-oriented. We had a fabulous event on January 3rd called Shedding Light, Shedding Shame, and it was an event for people who have suffered from substance abuse on the Cape, lost a loved one, struggled with addiction, and it was a place to really have a conversation about it. And so we're hoping that as we move forward, we can schedule events like these that will engage young people, not only in an educational way, because it was educational for everyone there, but also in a community support way, so that kids really understand, what a community looks like as it comes together to meet an issue. Another one of our pillars is media outreach. So we're reaching out through local newspapers, The Register, wickedlocal.com. We're also hoping to partner with local radio stations to give the kids a voice on the airwaves. And we're also working with C3 TV to develop some strategies for getting the youth voice broadcast through the local television stations. And then our final pillar that we're really working on developing now is a plain talk approach to substance abuse prevention. So that was our Shedding Light, Shedding Shame event on January 3rd that featured a variety of people in recovery or people who have known someone who has suffered from substance abuse coming together and talking about what that means, mourning for the people that we've lost, understanding that this is a community problem that has to be met with community solutions, but also working with the schools, hopefully, to bring in, I say very loosely, success stories, people who have struggled with addiction and have overcome their addiction and are in recovery, to talk to the young people about the path that they went down that got them into that dangerous place, and how they were able to come back from it. So those are sort of our three main pillars right now. These events, getting things for young people to do on Cape Cod. Our second is working with local media production to get the voice of the young people out. And our third is a comprehensive approach to substance abuse prevention that involves community conversation.
None of this would be possible without the generosity of the Cape Cod 5 Foundation and the Joan Bennick Smith Charitable Foundation. They have been our founding supporters and have continued to support us in anything and everything that we do. And as our pillars shift, like a game of Jenga, they have been so supportive as we have evolved with what the youth. Youth is constantly evolving, and so are we. So we can't thank them enough.
Well, unfortunately, we're just about out of time here on Sunday Journal. Siobhan Henshaw and Zoe Wolf, the co-founders of the brand new organization Plain Talk on Cape Cod, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this issue today here on Sunday Journal.
Thank you so much for having us, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
I'm Matt McCarthy, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.